of course, are aware of the global dimensions and the interest in global studies, our program focuses on the study of world religions. And our world religion courses regularly now fill with 300 students a section. So world events, world culture, world religions, world politics is something that is very important to us in the program for religious studies. So I was honored when I was asked to moderate this panel.
Well, I was asked as the first speaker here to kind of just introduce the geography of this region, and that's why there is a map behind me. It's kind of one of the downfalls of my job that I have to start with a map. It was kind of an interesting discussion that myself and the other panelists had organizing this session as to actually what to call this geographical region. And I could talk extensively, literally for hours. Students in my classes that I see here know I really can't do this. But really, what is the Middle East? What is the Arab world? And all sorts of just difficulties that we have in defining these places, because in a lot of ways these terms often invoke a lot of negative stereotypes and a lot of generalizations. Needless to say, after many emails and some bantering, we decided on referring to this session, maybe not bantering, we decided to refer to the session as the Arab, Middle East, and Northern Africa. I think why it's an important discussion to have, again, is because these terminologies sometimes, it facilitates generalization. And what we need to understand, I think what's so crucial to understand about some of the uprisings and revolts that we've seen in this region is, well, we don't really know exactly what this region is. And no one for certain can ever define exactly what the Middle East is or what the Arab world is. But the point I really want to emphasize here is that, again, we need to be very cautious the way we might generalize about either one of these places. Regardless of that, there have been some absolutely unprecedented and amazing, in a lot of ways celebratory things occurring in whatever region you want to actually label this. Is, again, this kind of concern over the way the nomenclature, the geographical terminology we often use to refer to this region. This is an image from CBS's continuing and complete coverage of the anger in the Arab world. And this disturbs me and somewhat makes me a little bit angry, actually. What I have seen in most of news media coverage and talking to friends that I still have in Cairo is not anger. What these revolts are about is not some deep-seated anger that's rooted in Arab peoples. And in fact, what it's been is celebratory and jubilant. And I think that's a really important point to emphasize, that these revolutions and these uprisings that have happened have in large part not been violent, Libya being a major exception to that. Clearly there's been some more hostile uprisings happen in Oman and also in Bahrain. But on average, these have been very peaceful and very successful movements. And I think that's a very important thing to underscore, because so often people hear about the Middle East. I'm actually leaving on Friday and taking a group of students to the Middle East, and I'm getting lots of emails from administrators and parents that are concerned about this. But in fact, what we really find here is a place that is quite peaceful. These revolutions and these revolts really have been, again, I think something to celebrate and to actually feel quite jubilant about.
Okay. What I've been tasked with discussing for a few minutes is why the United States is interested in this part of the world, why the United States is interested in these events that are unfolding over the last couple of months. So I'm going to take two cuts of this. As Dr. Gill mentioned, I teach international relations and I also teach foreign policy. And the difference tends to be that international relations, you're interested in the ways in which the entire globe fits together. And different countries, different societies, you're looking at international structural explanations of the way the world works. Interestingly enough, in the individual states' foreign policies, they tend to be not very international based. They tend to be very much domestic based. So we'll talk for a couple minutes about sort of the international relations sort of side of these issues, and also in kind of the U.S. foreign policy side of these issues. And so to start with the international relations approach to addressing these events, IR theory is basically built on two different schools of thought about what makes the world work. And one half of it is that it's about ideas, it's about norms, it's about understandings. And if you believe in that sort of what politics fundamentally is about sort of shared beliefs, shared belief sets and ideologies, what's going on right now is of extreme importance, because what's really being fundamentally discussed is the nature of politics, the nature of legitimacy. You know, what actually is a government supposed to do? What are the rights of citizens? Things like that. So from that point of view, these events unfolding across many countries, across the important part of the world, is really very important, because you are kind of getting at perhaps a shift in the way in which we understand the way politics works. The other side of international relations, it's not ideational based, is materialist. And from that point of view, you're interested in things you can touch and hold in your hand, things like that. And from that point of view, this part of the world is obviously great importance for a variety of reasons. But the one people always come back to again and again, as I'm sure we'll discuss later today, is the oil issue. And I do want to stress, if you look at the map that is brought, many of these countries do not have much oil, but some of them do. And once you wind up with something kind of as trans-regional as this is, you wind up with the possibility of a threat to the oil supply, which then would have major changes in international prices, which could very well take the entire planet into a recession if prices are high enough. Obviously, right now, that's not probably as big an issue considering the horrible events in Japan, but it's still a concern most of the planet has. So whether you're interested in sort of what's going on from the standpoint of will it affect your pocketbook, will it affect the U.S. economy, or whether you're interested because is this going to sort of change or understand what democracy is, or interested in what government's supposed to do. From those two sides of things, these events matter a lot in terms of international relations.
Good evening. I'm Mr Sharif. I'm from Libya. I have MD from my country, my city, Benghazi, and I'm a graduate student at School of Medicine. And also I'm faculty staff at Benghazi University. I have a few comments about Mr. Gaddafi. Actually, he's not president because Libyan people never elect him as president. Also, he's not a king because he's not from royal family. He got the power because he was an army. Also, he's been killing our people since '69. I'm not going to talk about my people. I'm going to talk about international community. When I first time I came to the United States, I lived in Chicago. I remember, I was so happy because that time he was what's called Mr. Obama campaign for president. And as you know, Chicago is a blue state. And everybody loves Mr. Obama, even my school minister. And I was so happy to follow his speech. And every single speech I remember, even we studied in the school, English school. And I was also, that night we elected in 23rd November 2008. I've been there in Millennium Park in Chicago. And I celebrate with my friend, American friend, because Mr. Obama is originally from Africa. And he said, yes, we can. And I want to tell him, Libyan people, yes, we can. And we will do, even without support you. I want to say that for him.